Welcome to the cockpit. My name's Ryan and I'll be your pilot tonight. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. This week, we got Lane Cactus, AM, Steven Angle, Joe S., Matt Curtis, Jacob K., The Mini Mamba, Elijah Pemberton. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a lot to talk about. We got the Mosley opt-in out news. We've got the friggin', Winters going all out. We got Quincy Enunwa getting sent out of here. So much to talk about. New York Sports MC. What's up, brother? Table croissants. You guys are great. Andrew P., I see you. We're going to do this the same way we do every week. I'm going to do my commentary till about 8:30, and then we will go to the phone lines to answer your questions about all the trending Jet topics from around the NFL and all your questions going on. It's been a long week. I feel like I've actually made some more Jet videos than I've made in the the last little bit here. So it's been kind of nice getting back into a little bit of a groove. Are you going live tomorrow during the tropical storm, says Zachary Berner. If I have internet, I will be going live. That will be what happens. We'll see. Who knows? I have the day off tomorrow, so I'll actually be able to relax and prep for you guys. All right. So let's start talking a little bit about my thoughts on everything going on. We'll start with Mosley because that seems to be the biggest news of the of everything going on here. Let me just dim this music a little bit. Boom, go the other direction. All right, cool, we're muted. All right, so with Mosley, obviously our big crown jewel signing from just a year ago, along with Le'Veon Bell. But Mosley really is, the guy that was supposed to take over for Jamal Adams as being the captain on this defense. And for the 3 quarters of play we saw last year, he looked like he was the best defender on the field. The guy was absolutely incredible. Unfortunately, a groin injury really sidelined him, and we didn't get to see anything else out of him the rest of the year. I think maybe we got a little bit during a Patriot game, maybe. So him opting out is a huge blow for the New York Jets defense. And it's interesting because I don't fault any player for opting out. Look, everyone's got to take care of family first. I say it to all my employees at the golf course. I say, look, we'll figure it out without you. It's, worry about your family. There's no reason to stress about having a job and, going crazy. Well, it's just golf. That's what I say. Football, it's just football. We'll figure it out. Now, there are a lot of ramifications to this move. If you're a Jets fan, if you're a Jets organization, how does this kind of work? How does this lead? How do we handle this? So CJ Mosley was set to make $17.5 million, or at least hit that much against our salary cap this year. He was paid a $10 million roster bonus, which was already paid out. So he already has that money. Then he has the $6 million base salary and the $1.5 million bonuses that he would get throughout the season. So because he opted out, he already gets $10 million. But the $7.5 million of the rest of that deal pushes to next year, which is, a good thing for us because next year he's only going to cost us $7.5 million against the cap. Can we get some more likes? 40 plus watching with 3 likes. Elijah Pemberton, thank you so much for the super chat. Come on, guys, like this video. If you like this video and you like the content on the channel, if you hit the like button on these videos, it really helps with the algorithm, and it helps people that don't know this channel. If they tune in and watch and they see a bunch of likes, it helps the channel grow a little bit. So thank you, Elijah. It means a lot. We have a $7.5 million cap hit next year for CJ Mosley. Now, why did he do this? It's going to be under, I think, the disguise of, protecting your family and stuff. I think the reason why the NFL started renegotiating with the players again was that they saw a lot of players that were probably going to get cut starting to opt out, so that way they at least got some money for this year. And that was going to wind up being an issue. I believe right now Thursday at 4:00 is the deadline for players to actually opt out of the 2020 NFL season. So with CJ Mosley, I think he kind of looked at the season And he probably felt, look, I don't think we're going to get a full year. He's protecting his $7.5 million salary for the rest of the year, because if we cancel the season 3 games in, 4 games in, he's losing the rest of it. He'll make whatever game checks he makes for the time being, but then it's all, everything outside of that you'd lose, and then you wind up going into year 3 of his contract. So it's a smart financial move. That said, I would have to imagine there's probably a decent amount of players that are a little irritated by it, because I would imagine the Jets brass is probably slightly irritated by it too. I mean, look, you negotiate with it, and the players have such a weak players union to begin with. It's the weakest of all the major sports. So I don't fault the guy for doing it. I really don't. It just kind of sucks, because now we're very lucky we did not trade Avery Williamson. I know in my mock offseason I had us cutting Avery Williamson because I projected that Joe Douglas would not want to pay 2 top 15 inside linebacker contracts for the year. Thank God I was wrong there, because we are going to need Avery Williamson if this season winds up going the distance. John Hebendal. He says, hello from Sarasota. Awesome. My parents live in Sarasota. I'm assuming Florida. Beautiful Siesta Key beaches down that way. It is absolutely incredible. My family's been going there for like 50 years. So really, really awesome spot down there. I haven't even brought up the contest today. All right, so let's do this. If you guys go down into the description down below, click on the Jets Discord link if you want to win a hat, shirt, or a mug from the Jets Talk store. I'm going to raffle off one at the end of the video. And all you have to do is go down to the Jets Discord in the description down below, go to the poll section and answer this: which player on the New York Jets opted out? There's really 2 answers, but I'm looking for the big one. Who's the big guy that opted out that we were just talking about? Answer that and get your shot to win a hat, shirt, or mug from the Jets Discord or Jets Talk store. So yeah, we have Avery Williamson, who was a phenomenal inside linebacker before we got C.J. Mosley. Honestly, I was stunned we got Mosley. I did not think that was someone we were going to go after, and we grossly overpaid too. If you look at what was offered, I'm pretty sure Baltimore was offering him like $14 or $15 million, and the Jets just blew the doors off of a deal. Mosley was pretty much trying to get Baltimore to match anything the Jets were giving him, and the Jets just kept going higher and higher and higher to the point where Baltimore just couldn't match it. Now, I like C.J. Mosley. This contract, because it tolls for an entire year, makes it so that way we cannot get out of it until 2023. That is a tough contract to inherit if you're Joe Douglas, regardless of how you feel about C.J. Mosley. It's a tough contract. Now, the nice thing is the Jets have a lot of salary cap space. So going into a season next year that has the very high likelihood of being a $175 million cap, that's $25 million lower than what it was this year. Now, that's because there's no fans in the stands, and the floor for the cap was set at 175. So you're not going to see a cap lower than that, but it could wind up being 175 for the next few years to help kind of even out the cap or revenue loss from this year. So this contract's going to be a doozy for Joe Douglas. And we've kind of heard rumblings from a few areas over the course of last year. Predominantly, I don't think Douglas really wanted to pay Jamal Adams like a $17 to $20 million deal for a strong safety. I think he's pretty big on positional value. I don't think Gase was overly high on the amount of money we gave Le'Veon Bell. Yes, I was very on board with Le'Veon Bell. I think I would love to keep him long term, but I think Le'Veon Bell is someone you could see the Jets move on from if they're looking for salary cap relief. Now, C.J. Mosley's cap hit of 7.5 next year makes it so you might be able to trade him. So if there's a team out there that does want to pay Mosley that much money, then I think you could see Douglas want to kind of move on from that. Now, with Avery Williamson going into the last year of his contract, us not knowing how he's going to play, I would hold on to CJ. I don't think getting rid of him is really a smart move. You need a leader in that locker room, and hopefully that's what CJ can be. Hopefully the players view him that way. I mean, the guy was incredible for the 3 quarters we saw him for. But really, man, major buyer's remorse. We've paid him now $26.5 million in 2 years, and we've gotten 3 quarters of play. That is terrible. It is absolutely horrible. Not good at all. Now, what else do the Jets do? Well, I guess what do you think the guys could, what do you think we could get for CJ Mosley on that kind of deal? Hashtag sports, what's up, brother? Mario or Paul, whoever's chatting in there. Love having you guys. I got to have you guys on the channel again. I haven't had you on here in a while. So what could the Jets possibly get for Mosley if they were to look into potentially trading him? It's a big contract. I don't know if you could get a first for him. If you could, you probably make that move to try and help rebuild the offensive side of the ball. But man, I think he's more valuable to the Jets in terms of leadership and in terms of defense than what you could probably get for him. Then you got the whole Brian Winters thing. So Brian Winters winds up getting cut. This is someone I expected the Jets to cut back at the beginning of free agency or the beginning of the calendar year to save money. Now, I did bring it up at that time that Avery Williamson and Brian Winters both did not have any guaranteed money on their deal. So they could cut them at the very end of training camp and move on in the event that you have an injury to C.J. Mosley or he opts out, like what happened, to us. I'm not a big fan of cutting Brian Winters at this point in time. I'm 110% fine with it before the season, but I think with the opt-out deadline on Thursday, I think it's a mistake to create less depth on your offensive line, especially like in a season you may need to have that depth. Now, one person brought up in my comment section that perhaps Brian Winters was looking to opt out and the Jets would have to pay him. Originally, my first thought was like, okay, wow, that's a great idea. Makes a lot of sense for the Jets to cut him then. Then I started thinking about it. If he opts out, the Jets would have had to pay him $150,000. And his contract tolls. Because he doesn't have any guaranteed money, the Jets could just cut him at the beginning of the calendar year, in the middle of March or whatever that winds up being. So that's not really a concern. So in my mind, I don't see a concern unless you're worried about practice time for Cameron Clark, for Alex Lewis, for Jonathan Harrison, Greg Van Roten, all these guys that could potentially be competing for a guard position this season. If that's the case, I don't have a problem with it. You get the guys the reps. You're not going to keep Winters anyway. I understand it. Now he signs with our rivals, the Buffalo Bills. I don't think any Jet fan is really upset by that move. The guy's got a mean streak. I do like that. The guy is a very aggressive offensive lineman, but the guy can't stay healthy, like at all. We got one season of 16 games out of him in like the 7 seasons that he was with the Jets. So by and large, you're probably expecting, hey, you're going to get 10 to 13 games out of the guy. And if he creates depth for that Bills offensive line, hey, you know what? It makes a lot of sense. I don't think, let's see, what does hashtag say? Hashtag says Winters doesn't have practice squad eligibility as well, so teams are looking at players to replace opt-out players that have practice squad eligibility. Now, the nice thing about Winters is he's been in the league a while, so you don't have to worry about him really knowing much of the, or not knowing the plays or not knowing the NFL system. So I think it's smart for teams to bring in non-rookie players for this year. I would say this. If you're bringing in Winters, just know you're going to get penalties. You're going to get injuries. It's going to happen. I didn't see what the contract was. I'm sure you guys got him for way cheaper than the 7.5 or 7.3, I guess, that the Jets were going to have to pay him. Who knows? Look, I wish him the best of luck. He's been a good Jet. Not necessarily what you want out of someone you give a pretty big contract to. Basically, as soon as the Jets gave him that big contract, his play just fell off a cliff. And he just never progressed into what we were hoping that he was going to be. Now, we heard news today. Quincy Enunwa has been released from the New York Jets. That is, I believe, I didn't get to do any research before this. I literally got home. I was playing golf, came home for the live stream, and I did not do any research. So if you guys know a little bit more information on the Quincy Enunwa thing, let me know. But my understanding is we pay him $6 million this year in guaranteed money. He was already not going to be playing this year. He was on the PUP list. Basically, his career's over. That's what it's going to come down to. And Quincy Enunwa is someone that I really, really like, and I would have loved to have seen him stay healthy and really play well for this team. But the guy just can't stay healthy. Same sort of issue. And Winters and Quincy were the final 2 pieces of the Idzik draft. I believe it was 12 draft picks that year. They are the final 2 pieces to fall off the Jets team. And look, Quincy, I don't believe he's going to catch on anywhere. I think the Jets wind up getting salary cap space next year. That's really what we're kind of banking on. I think when you look at what the Jets are doing, a lot of people are saying, hey, the Jets are going to make a move for someone. Is that Ngakwe? Is it Clowney? Could it be Logan Ryan, Everson Griffin, any of these names that we've kind of seen float around? If it were me, I wouldn't make any of those moves. And this is why. This salary cap that you have rolls over into next year. A year that we're going to be down to $175 million. You're losing $25 million off your projected cap right off the bat. Potentially, assuming no fans at all this entire season. I'm pretty sure that's what we're going to get. Now, I would want to roll over as much cap as possible. This is a year I don't expect the Jets to go to the Super Bowl. I don't expect them to really contend for a playoff spot. Maybe they squeak in to that 7th seed in a season where, there's no training camp. Maybe it's kind of like, a lot of things up in the air. I think you're going to need the offensive line to gel. I think just because of that, I think the strength of our schedule is tough. I have a hard time seeing us really being in a good position. Not to mention, if you sign Clowney for a year, he's taken away reps from Zuniga. He's taken away reps from Bryce Huff. He's taken away reps from Jordan Jenkins, potentially. All these different players that you want to really kind of get a gauge on. Unless you're signing Clowney to like a 3-year deal at like pseudo reasonable money, like if he wanted, 3 years 12 or 3 years $13 million, like yeah, you could probably get me on board with that. But for a 1-year deal, I don't think it's worth it at this point in the season. And to be honest, what's going to happen, or what I think is going to happen, is you're going to have players sign with teams, and then we're going to wind up getting 3, 4, 5 games into the season, and just there's going to be teams decimated because of COVID. Guys have to sit out 2 weeks, and then all of a sudden, I think the league's going to start to go sideways. I hope we get an entire football season out of this. I'm not overly optimistic based on what I'm seeing out of baseball. And baseball's like, you're pretty far away from guys the entire time, and I just don't see how the NFL is going to make it work the way we want to see it work. I believe they are going to try like hell to get it to work, because that is a lot of money on the table. There's TV contracts on the line. There are, thousands of jobs across the NFL. You got scouts. You got, food vendors in the stadiums. Not that they'd be doing it with no fans, but, cable broadcast teams. There's coaches, refs, all these guys that you could potentially be losing money. This is a big organization. So we have to run the risk analysis, or Joe Douglas has to run the risk analysis of, is it worth bringing in Clowney? I said $10 million. That's cheap. But let's say, $10 to $13 million for Clowney for 1 season. Is it worth bringing a guy in like that at the risk of losing that cap space for a season that only lasts 5 games? For me, I don't think so. I don't think it's worth it for this year. There's other seasons that I might consider it. Now, you could get me on board with a trade. I know Matt O'Leary was talking about, I'll admit I did not watch his video yet, but it was talking about the wide receivers, Juju and Allen Robinson. And those are 2 guys that I would definitely consider trading for, depending on the price. What is it going to cost? What is the contract that we're going to have to sign him to? These are all questions. Like, if I'm signing Juju this year on a trade, I don't care if we have to forego the season, because his contract this year is pretty small anyway. But I think the Jets have a really good shot at getting Juju in the offseason. I really think he's going to want to try and play with Sam Darnold again. Remember, they were teammates out at USC. I could see him really coming to the Jets next year. He would be my number 1 target for the offense. Him and Thuney, or Tooney, or however you pronounce his name. Those would be my 2 guys. If I could throw big money at players, a big, strong, healthy guard that doesn't commit penalties, and Juju as a complement to Mims. Now, I would love to see Perriman catch fire. I don't know if that's realistic to believe or not. We saw an amazing 5-game stretch from him at the end of last season. So if we could re-sign him again, another 1-year deal, or maybe signs a cheaper multi-year deal, okay, I'm good with it. I don't think I want that to be our sole reliance. I believe we have Crowder under contract for another year. I have to look. I'm not exactly sure offhand, but I'm cool with Crowder. I'm cool with Mims. I'm cool with Herndon, Griffin, like Bell, if we want to hold on to Bell and keep him. I don't think you want to move on from Bell just yet. If you have the cap space and you're not necessarily going to need it, that's, we'll see what happens there. I like Juju. I like Allen Robinson. I like both of them. I think they're both really good options for the Jets. I don't particularly want to spend a high draft pick on a wide receiver. With the Jets' 2 first-round picks, if I had to peg where I'd like them to go, I could see one going to the offensive line. I could see one definitely going edge rusher. Like if I'm looking at free agency and I'm looking at the draft, obviously free agency is first. Top 2 targets, Juju and Tooney. If the Jets were able to get those 2. Now I'd look edge rusher in the draft and cornerback. Those would be the 4 positions I'd try to target. Maybe you go offensive line. Then you have your second round pick. Maybe you take a swing at an offensive lineman or a wide receiver there. That I'm okay with. I think that makes a lot of sense. There's going to be a lot of options for the Jets. A lot of things going on. It's going to be a really exciting next 2 years in the draft process because we have 2 first-round picks. We have 2 third-round picks. There's just a lot going on. And I would be really, really excited to see what's going on. Hopefully this channel grows too. You got, generally speaking, this channel sees the most growth in the offseason, mainly because the Jets stink and, our Super Bowl is the draft. So not the best of situations if you're a Jet fan. But hey, you know what? It's my slow period, so I can make a bunch of videos for you. So hopefully we get some interesting topics in the offseason. Now let's see. You guys are talking about Juju in the chat. You guys are saying a 3rd-round pick for Juju. Absolutely, I would do that. I would give up a 3rd-round pick in a heartbeat for Juju. I think it would probably take more than that, but who knows? It might depend on if he's willing to sign an extension with the team. If he's looking to potentially go to the Jets anyway, I don't know if he is or not, but if he is, that would be really interesting, where you just kind of roll the dice and just let it go. But I would, even if we had a shot at getting him in free agency, I would trade a 3rd-round pick for Juju. I would forego whatever we would get in the 3rd round to make sure we do get him and sign him to a deal. Zach Holmes is saying, would you trade a 2nd for Odell Beckham Jr.? I would not, and here's why. It's not that I don't like Odell. I think he's a phenomenal talent, but I think we've kind of seen him in this media market before. I don't particularly like it. Not to mention, he accused Greg Williams of trying to injure him in a preseason game when he was on the Giants and Greg Williams was on the Browns. So I don't think that makes sense. Same thing with kind of Clowney. Not that Clowney has accused the Jets of anything, but the personalities don't seem to jive with what Joe Douglas is trying to do. So I do not think either one of them would really be kind of in play for the Jets. That would be my thoughts on that. Jaron says, I'm watching the Mets game and this. Whew. We have 142 people in here. That's probably as many people that are watching the Met game right now. No, I'm kidding. Guys, hit that like button. We got 60 likes in here. If you guys really want to have, help the channel grow, guys that tune into this live stream after the fact see the likes, and it's kind of a nice way to encourage people to follow and subscribe to the channel. And guys, if you want your chance to win a Jets Talk or a merchandise from the Jets Talk store, www.jetstalk.com. There's some cool items over there. I got to update some of the stuff because I have some Jamal things on there. I got to get that out of there, redo some stuff. But if you want your chance to win a raffle for a hat, shirt, or mug from the store, go down into the description down below, click on the Jets Discord link, and answer this question. Head down to the poll section, answer this question. What player opted out for the New York Jets? There's really 2 options. I'm looking for the big one, but there's 2 potential options for the Jets. Unless there's, who knows, maybe there's a 3rd that I'm kind of missing right now. But at least 2. All right, what are you guys talking about over there? We need a real number 1 wide receiver, says PJFTV. We do. Hopefully Mims could step into that role. I think he's, I didn't really see AJ Green in terms of his comparison, but after listening to Joe Blewett and Robbie Sabo and those guys and Nania, they seem like it's spot on. So I'm going to roll with that. If we can get AJ Green in Mims, 110%, he's going to be a number 1 wide receiver. That's my fingers crossed. Stephen Engel, that's a pretty funny comment. I don't know if I'm gonna say that on air though. But it ends in block. It's a 4-letter word, starts with a T, ends with a T, and block. Yeah. Man, all right. What else is going on over there? Devin says, with how Sam plays, you don't need a true stud number 1. He spreads the ball out. I completely agree with that, Devin. I think we don't necessarily need a number one wide receiver. When you draft a wide receiver in the first round, there's a really big expectation to pay that guy a crap ton of money. And I think that's kind of an issue. You know, I don't mind paying an offensive weapon that much money, but I think receivers, I don't know. I like the second round wide receiver. I think there's value in the second round. Now, Sam is a very, very good distributor of the ball. He uses his tight ends a lot. He uses all his wide receivers. Like, it wouldn't shock me to see every single person in this, like on this roster at the skill positions to all have 500 yards from Sam. Like, that's the kind of quarterback that Sam is. I don't necessarily need a 1,000-yard receiver. I really want one, but I don't necessarily need one. I see some of you guys saying, how do I get to the poll section? If you scroll down into the description down below, there's a link to the Jets Discord. You click on that. You might have to make a username if you don't have one or whatever. And then you just scroll down. There's a little sidebar. There's a little Jets Talk side, and then you'll see a poll section. You click on that and then just answer the question in there. What is the player's name that opted out for the New York Jets? There's two options. I'm looking for the big one. So answer that there. Get yourself entered to win a hat, shirt, or mug from the Jets Talk store. Hashtag Sports saying Darnold is a stud. Love Sammy. Hashtag is a Buffalo Bills channel. If you guys have not followed them, they do some great Bills commentary. I know I'm a Jet fan. I tend to follow a lot of other YouTubers from other sports franchises because when a trade happens with that team, or if there's, you know, upcoming game with that team, I like seeing their take on a lot of things. Because look, I see the world through a green, rose-colored glasses. That's what it is. And you know what? I don't like just seeing the one perspective. I like trying to get a few perspectives. Normally when I do a video, I try to sort of get as much information as I can. And look, I'm wrong I won't say half the time, but I'm wrong some of the times. And I think every content creator is going to fall that way. But getting some inside views of how other teams view us, where they see our strengths, our weaknesses, I think that's important. And I love having the commentary back and forth. Plus the hashtag guys are always, real good dudes. I like those guys. What else we got in there? Jets Kid 14 said someone unsubscribed from him. Poor guy. Sub up Jets Kid. He's a good dude. Let's see. Hashtag is the man. Subscribe to him. Good dude all around, says Steven. Lame Cactus says Sam greater than Allen. I could have this debate till I'm blue in the face. I love Sam. I would not trade Sam for any of the quarterbacks in that draft, short of maybe Lamar Jackson. But I don't think Lamar would have the success here that he's having in Baltimore. I don't believe our coaching staff or team is built the way that it would need to be built to have success with Lamar. Now, I will say this. I think Sam has had the least help outside of maybe Josh Rosen in terms of, getting help put around him, the right coaching staff. There's always something going on. I think Sam's going to be incredible. I do think Allen is a very fun quarterback to watch. I really do enjoy watching Josh Allen. Partially because I like watching some of the crazy stuff, like a little fumble backwards in the playoffs. Made my heart warm because it wasn't Sammy D doing it. But no, it's cool because Sam and him have a very close relationship. They came into the draft the same year. They went through a lot of the same processes. They're in the same division. They're fighting the Patriots. I think it's going to be a fun relationship overall to watch over the next few years. And I hope Josh Allen winds up being the franchise quarterback for the Bills. I hope Sam's the franchise quarterback because if we could watch a 10-year relationship of this kind of sprawl out, I would really enjoy seeing that. Let's see. Oh, okay, we're at 8:30 now. So let me go over to the phone lines here. I'm going to open that up for your calls, and we'll try to get some of your opinions on all the topics going on. Where's my little phone number here? Bam! Phone number on the board. All right, I know who this is.
Call from Chris from Florida.
Hey, Chris, what's up, dude? How you doing?
What's going on, Jets Nation? Woo!
Good stuff, brother. What's on your mind? Talk to me.
All right, so obviously we all predicted Brian Winters to go. I'm really glad. I do understand a lot of people's concern about why did Joe Douglas have to wait so long, especially after the free agency, before the draft, of course, throughout the draft. Why wait till training camp? I think Joe Douglas has truly been setting a mark of strategy here. You got to see that he was waiting for to see what was the COVID-19 situation. He's been watching how the league is handling it, the cap hit, and everything. I wouldn't be surprised even, and this is just a perspective, but I wouldn't be surprised if Joe Douglas even said to C.J. Mosley, hey, man, if you want to go ahead and request to go on the COVID leave, go ahead, because I'll be able to do a lot more with you, and we'll have you for an extra year. And he's clearly been budgeting, because out of everything, the Jets, yeah, people are judging us for, oh, you're losing players, or, oh, you're not making great moves. But look at how much more valuable and how much more free agencies will be interested, because we have the most cap space, or at least one of the top 2 or 3 cap spaces available for teams to try and want to join us.
Oh, for sure. And that's also a huge thing in the coaching search. In the event that Adam Gase really goes sideways this year and we decide to try and move on from him, having a team with a lot of cap space, 2 first-round picks the next 2 years, we're going to be a very attractive landing spot for a head coach in the event we want to move on from Adam Gase. So I could see that, where he wants to like allow C.J. Mosley to forego the season. Man, it's a crazy contract. As long as he's okay paying it, I'm good with it, because I like CJ. I think he's probably our best defensive player if he's on the field. That contract, though, man, $26.5 million in 2 years and 3 quarters of play. That's, oh God, that is rough.
Now hear me out on this, and I think some Jets fans will kind of agree with this. I think what Joe Douglas is doing right now with this season, obviously, Super Bowl, let's throw that out the window, because like you've said before, we don't even know if we're even going to have a full season. So what I believe Joe Douglas is going to do is this. He knows that the defense for the Jets is already set. We're good with the defense. We've got players under contracts for multitude years. Now, this season is a prove-it-year season for the offense. This is a tryout for not only Sam Darnold, obviously, to prove that he's still got potential in the future, especially now with a much better, it's not the greatest, but a better offensive line than he had the year before, but also for Adam Gase. This is Joe Douglas basically saying to Adam Gase, hey, man, you kind of got almost no excuse this year. Yeah, you're going to have a tough season this year, but this is going to show how well you compete against those teams. You know, we know what kind of defense we can have, especially having Greg Williams as the coach. We know he's a prove-it coach. Now this is, are you a prove-it head coach and a prove-it offensive mind for this team, you know?
Yeah, look, I think this entire season, we could go 0-16. I don't care what the record's going to be this year. I just want to see progression from the offense. I want to see competent play. I want to enjoy watching the games. That's going to be the litmus test for me. If I see Sam take that step forward, or at least progress forward, like we see good footwork, we see him starting to make the right decisions. He's not necessarily throwing up some of those like really bad, goofy throws that we saw last year. I'm okay with that. That would put me in a comfortable position moving forward, and that tells me that he's learning from Adam Gase. Now, I want to see the play calling get better too. I don't want to see like some of the weird try to outsmart your opponent and then wind up making stupid friggin' play calls. So there's going to be a lot to this, but I think the offensive side of the ball means more to me than anything that happens on the defensive side.
Yeah, the only thing I'm honestly, with all this opting out and everything, like I was fine with it, especially from C.J. Mosley. Again, I was like, okay, we still had a big cap hit with him, but he's only going to get paid a deduction, and we've already covered his contract. And like I said, Joe Douglas seems to be managing it well. We obviously could cover Quincy Enunwa's contract deal with what McCagnon did, and Joe Douglas is like, okay, and coming into next year, I'm going to be able to be more flexible and such. The only person I want to see this whole season opt out for the COVID thing is what's his name?
Russell Wilson?
Yeah.
That's you, me too. Fingers crossed, brother.
That's all I'm asking for. Now, as far as when it comes to the first round draft pick, I am completely
Boom! Chris, you've been ejected from the cockpit. Chris, I love you, dude. Thank you so much for calling in. By all means, call in again. I love hearing from you. Who we got on the lines?
Eli.
Eli, what's good, brother? How you doing?
Hey Ryan, how's your day going?
Not too bad. I had a long day at work. I got to play like 9 holes of golf afterwards. Had a few beers. Feeling pretty good. How's your day going?
It's another day at home all day. Um,
I hear you. What's on your mind?
okay, so you guys in the chat and you were all talking about Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yes.
I personally do not think Juju Smith-Schuster's that good. The only time he had really good success was when the number one cornerbacks were all covering Antonio Brown and they were just they weren't focusing on Juju. So to give up like a second or a first for a wide receiver who, to be honest, he might be good. He's unproven in my opinion. He hasn't proven anything yet. So to give
That's
that
fair.
much for an unproven receiver, I think is just stupid.
Yeah, now look, I am 100% against giving up a first-round pick. I will not give up a first-round pick for anyone this year. I really don't want to do that. A second-round pick, like maybe a third-round pick that turns into a conditional second, I could probably get on board with that. But I think the Jets are going to have a good shot at getting him in free agency. Now, the reason why I won't give him too much crap, and I had him on my fantasy team last year, and he crushed me. I had him and Odell. I had like the 12th pick and 13th pick in my draft. So I wound up double dipping a wide receiver, and both of them screwed me. But you got to remember that Juju wound up playing with like second and third string quarterbacks. He only had Big Ben for I think it was a game and a half during last year. So it's hard for me to want to like rag on him too hard. Now I agree, definitely not a first round pick, but I would definitely think about it, like in terms of bringing him in some capacity.
I don't think Joe Douglas will bring him in, though. That's the thing. I see Joe Douglas.
I don't think we're gonna.
I'm seeing him cut.
I was gonna say I don't think we trade for him. I think we're gonna wait, and I think we're gonna try and bring him in the offseason.
But as I see Joe Douglas cut Brian Winters, cut Quincy Enunwa, and just getting all this cap and all these draft picks, I think he's just cutting this team. I think he wants to start from fresh with all of McCagnon's mistakes, getting rid of all of those things. He's getting picks. He wants a bunch of rookies in there. If Sam Darnold's the guy, He keeps it. If not, we'll get a new quarterback. He's just rebuilding this team completely.
Yeah, look, I think he's going to totally build this through the draft. I think we're going to have limited movement in free agency. Now, I do think Thuney or however you pronounce his name, was very high on our list. I think he was our number one target last offseason prior to him getting franchised. I think that's one of the reasons why the Patriots franchised him. I think we're going to try and make a play for him again. It's one of those players that you could pay him a lot of money, and he's going to be an anchor on that offensive line. So I think that's where he's going to go. Receiver, I'm not too sure. I think it depends what kind of money Juju's looking for, what's going to happen with other teams wanting him. Where does he particularly want to go? Does he want to play with Sam again, or is he looking for a different opportunity? Who knows? I see Joe Douglas building this the right way through the draft. I like the smaller contracts. If we've learned anything over the last few years, we do not get the return on our investment on a big contract. Darrelle Revis did not get a big return. Trumaine Johnson, no big return. C.J. Mosley, definitely not a big return right now. Le'Veon Bell, I love the guy, but for the amount of money we paid, you're definitely not getting that kind of production out of him. So you kind of look at all these different contracts. I like these 1-year short deals because you invest more money in your own players. Now, yes, we traded Jamal away, but that's because Jamal didn't want to be here. That's not because we didn't necessarily want to invest in him. But if you can draft the right players and you can retain those players and you build a culture through this team, that's part of the reason why Joe Douglas has such a long-term deal with the Jets, is because he wants to be able to build that culture the right way, the same way Ozzie Newsome built it, the same way Howie Roseman built it. I think those are all really important. You don't try to build through free agency. You complement everything through free agency.
Yeah, because we have like I see him making the smart move, like picking Denzel Mims. He traded back twice, and he still got Denzel Mims. Joe Douglas is executing this entire offseason like an absolute genius. I can talk about all the Jets stuff I want, and it always circles back to how good Joe Douglas is.
Now, that's really how I feel. Now, I'll admit I don't love the trade back from 48 down to 58 or wherever we wound up going to get Mims. I wish you would have just taken it because that was a gamble I didn't think was necessary. But Eli, thank you so much. I'm going to eject you from the cockpit because you got 3 seconds. Thank you so much for calling in. Nice talking to you too.
You're out of here!
So good. So good. Guys, if you want your chance to win a hat, shirt, or mug from the Jets Talk store, head into the link in the description down below to the Jets Discord. Click on that, scroll down to the poll section, and answer this question. Who is the player on the New York Jets that opted out for the 2020 season? There's 2 answers, but I'm looking for the big one. Obviously, you'll be entered either way. But answer that down in that poll section, and I will raffle off a hat, shirt, or mug in about an hour, just before the show ends.
Call from
Alex.
Alex, what's good, brother? Welcome to the cockpit.
So happy I called in, man. How are you?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I've had a long day. I'm excited to just talk some Jets with you guys. What's on your mind?
Yeah. So yeah, a bunch of things are on my mind. Did you hear about that statistic about Sam Darnold and his ability to, like, his passer rating when he gets average or better pass protection?
I did. I don't know it offhand, but I remember seeing it, and it was something
over
outrageous.
100.
He's like a top... Yeah, he's like a top
QBR is like
10
over
quarterback, I
100.
think? Or
Yeah,
top
it's
5
insane.
quarterback?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's outrageous.
104 QBR or something. So with the way they rebuilt the line this year, that's really exciting. So I'm really pumped to see how that plays out, because if you recall the games when he lit it up, like, he had good protection in those games, and all the games that he struggled in, he had terrible protection. So that completely seems like it matches the eye test. So I'm really excited to see how that plays.
Yeah, for sure. I think
then-
we're definitely... I said it before. I think Thuney or whatever his name is, I think that's going to be our target. That's who we wanted to target in free agency this year, and I think you're going to see us continue to build this offensive line. We got the left tackle. We got the center. We're going to need another guard. Hopefully one of the guys we have on our roster exceeds expectations. We re-sign them. Van Roten, I think, is on a 3-year deal, but I think we can get out of it after a year. Right tackle, hopefully Fant can take over there, but I think the guard positions are really something to really look for moving forward.
Yeah, the releasing of what's his face suggests they really like the draft pick. His name's Cameron. Am I correct?
Yeah, Cameron Clark.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, no, hey, it's all right. I've had a few too.
So I really think that draft pick gave the roster a lot of flexibility, and I think they gave Winters a bit of some respect by releasing him this early in the training camp, so that he could probably fall someplace else, because they were going to release him anyway. So that actually did him a favor once they found out that there was going to be new roster restrictions for COVID-19 and stuff.
Yeah, I think this is a really good move for Joe Douglas to make, because especially with what went on with Jamal Adams, you could see maybe a few players in that locker room get their nose out of whack, and with ownership and the GM and like everyone supporting the players and just saying, hey, look, we're looking to go in a different direction. We could hold on to, but I think having the ability for you to go out and find another job while there's teams looking for players, I think is important. Now, him going to the Bills, not necessarily the best thing, because he could probably give away some of our internal play calls or anything like that. But, I think it's a good move and a good look for the front office.
For sure. And the one other thing I wanted to mention was am I crazy to think that we actually not only got a king's ransom for Jamal, but we actually got the better safety of the two?
Look, I was tongue in cheek. I was tongue in cheek when I said that initially. I think Jamal's the better. Yeah, I think Jamal's the better safety overall. I don't want to get it twisted that way, but I am not upset with who we got. Like, I would, even if Jamal was on his best behavior and he wanted a reasonable deal, like if Jamal wanted $13 million a year and we were offered 2 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and McDougald, 110% I'm trading him away. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care how good Jamal is. That is worth the compensation we got.
In a passing league, is he really that guy? Like, is he the guy that you want to, like, stake your franchise on? He's not Ed Reed. He's not. No, he's not a ball.
He's not.
And if you have a pass rusher in your linebacking core or just on your line, your pass rush is solid. Like, what value is he bringing to your team? He's a random blitzer. Like, I don't know. It doesn't feel it doesn't feel like your more competitive high-level teams who have more complete rosters are going to be able to utilize him to the maximum potential that he was able to be utilized on a more talent star roster, if that makes any sense.
Now, sure. Now, so he had, 6.5 sacks last year? If you have a good outside linebacker, that's replacing that easily. Now, he's not
right.
Jamal Adams is not an overly fast guy in coverage. He's not, I want to say he ran a 4.56 40. That's like pretty bad for a safety. So he's just not, he doesn't have that elite top end speed. Okay. Oh, okay. That would explain a lot then. But then, like, look, I look at him and you see all these great stats that you got from him in the run game and stopping the guys behind the line of scrimmage. When you have a terrible offense and you have teams that are absolutely running up the score on you, that are running the ball to run out the clock, he's going to accumulate those stats. They're on the field more often. He's going to get more snaps. Not to mention he had like 90 pass rush snaps last year, which is unheard of for a safety. Thank you so much, dude, for calling in.
You're out of here!
I am ejecting you from the cockpit. That was a good question, though. That was a good thought process going back and forth. Guys, if you want to win if you want to get a chance to win a hat, shirt, or mug from the Jets Talk store, link into the description down below. Click on the Jets Discord. Head down to the poll section. Answer this question. What player opted out for the New York Jets this year? And get yourself entered to win a hat, shirt, or mug.
Call from
Ejaz.
T-Jazz, what's good, brother? How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How about you, Ryan?
I'm hanging in there. What's on your mind?
All right. So a few calls ago, a dude named Eli in the comment section, he said that Juju Smith-Schuster, he didn't want to
Yes.
him,
Sure.
next year, right?
Yes.
So I might agree with that, but I'm going to give a counter argument since I have nothing else to
Okay.
talk about, and I know there's people in the comments that believe otherwise.
Okay.
So first of all, Juju has an elite frame. I don't know what he is, 6'1", 2, 3, but he's big, he's physical, he's strong. He can go over any cornerback, come down with a pass. Next, he's a pretty good route runner. He can get separation away from cornerbacks on slant routes. So
just for reference, he's 6'1", 215 pounds. So he's basically, 25 pounds heavier than Robbie Anderson, and 2 inches shorter. So he's I think he's around, I want to say Brashad Perriman's height and weight, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, go on.
The problem with Juju is that he's not very fast. So if you're running him on a deep route, we don't really have a pure burner yet, losing Robbie Anderson. Brashad Perriman could become that. I'm not sure how he's going to do this season, though. But all in all, if we can get Juju Smith-Schuster in free agency for like, I don't know, 10, 12 million, around what Robbie got, I'd be pretty happy.
I would have to imagine he'll command more than that because I think his upside is way higher than Robbie's. Now, Robbie possesses a very good skill set that is, you can't really teach it. With Smith-Schuster, you're getting maybe a better all-round receiver, and if you're not using him as a burner down the field and you're using him more between the hashes and you're kind of doing that, that's more of Sam's game. Sam's not really like a deep ball thrower. Now, he also didn't have the offensive line the last 2 years to really see it, but I think Smith-Schuster probably fits our mold of being closer to the line of scrimmage or in that mid-range. And I think there is space for someone like Smith-Schuster and someone like Perriman. I think you could, depending on what Perriman's looking to get and what Schuster's looking to get, I could see Schuster going for like, let me see, I'm going to pull up the actual wide receiver contracts this year and just kind of feel it out with what wide receivers I think he should be worth more than.
I think he's gonna.
So Allen Robinson right now is getting $14 million a year. Stefan Diggs is getting $14 million. I would say somewhere in that wheelhouse. Alshon Jeffrey's getting 13. That's a goddamn steal. Not steal, but like he's stealing their money. He's not worth that at all right now. Tyrell Williams got $11 million. I would say he's between 12 and 14 million. I think is probably the sweet spot for Juju because I don't think he's necessarily better than Jarvis Landry or Thielen, Hopkins. I think he's better than Brandon Cooks, but Cooks has a unique skill set that I think is desirable. But I would say around 14 million is probably where you get Juju. maybe a little less.
Yeah, I feel like the one thing that's making me say we can get him for $12 million is that he's like good friends with Sam, right? He played with him at USC.
Yes.
He has that connection. He thinks Sam's a good quarterback. So maybe he takes a little discount. I don't know.
I would bet any player is probably not going to take that much of a discount unless it's like a championship caliber team. Like if you're going to the Buccaneers to play with Tom Brady, or you're going to play with the Patriots because you think they have a good opportunity to win the East, or like you're playing with Patrick Mahomes, that's where I think you'll see the discounts. With the Jets, I think we'll probably have to pay market value, and that might just be too high for Joe Douglas. He might be okay with rolling with what we got and drafting players and just kind of building them up. And I'd have to look at what other players are coming out in free agency. It's really Juju and Allen Robinson are the two guys that are kind of like in the back of my mind as in terms of like good playmakers. But I'll be honest, I don't know some of the other guys yet. I haven't done my research yet.
All right, and before I get kicked off, because I know I probably have only 30 seconds left, I want to propose a trade that the Jets could do at the trade deadline. Now, assuming that Avery Williamson does good, the Panthers just had Luke Kuechly retire, right? So they're in need of a middle linebacker. I could see them, if Williamson does good, we can flip Williamson for maybe Curtis Samuel and a fit, because I know the Panthers are looking to get rid of him.
Sure, and that's something maybe I consider. I really like Avery Williamson. I've had him on the show one time. I got to do an interview with him. I would say, I don't know. I don't know if a team would be willing to give up that much for him for just half a season, but who knows? You'll see. I wouldn't be opposed to it. But thank you so much for calling in. You've been ejected from the cockpit. Man, I love having the timer back. The timer is really fun because I feel like I burn through calls real quick with this. Maybe I'll have to bring the timer back.
Eli, and I'm the lame cactus. FM is not the lame.
Whoa. Eli, what's good, brother? How you doing?
Okay. FM is saying I'm the lame cactus. I just wanted to call in to confirm my identity. Right? They're all trying to be me. They're all trying to be me.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad you are the lame cactus. But what, do you have anything else to say, or you just wanted to kind of fire off at FM?
I just wanted to prove FM wrong because he's annoying me.
Fair enough. Thank you so much for calling in, brother. And I've ejected you from the cockpit once again. Man, I don't know what happened with your audio. Your audio was crazy loud just now. That's all right. I'm playing with the little slider here, so hopefully the next caller isn't quite so loud. FM says he's calling in, or he's tried to call in. I see a bunch of phones like lighting up on the side, so I see you guys trying to call in.
Call from
Danda Panda.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail.
Danda Panda, what's up, brother? How you doing tonight?
Hey, good. Long time no speak, man.
Yeah, seriously, it's been a while. What's on your mind?
Yeah. I just wanted to say two things. I don't want to bring in anybody, Clowney or Yannick. I think we should just reserve the cap space for next year.
Yep.
And I love the fact that we're cleaning garbage out, getting rid of all these prior picks. I love it.
Yeah, it's a lot of dead weight. You're getting rid of Quincy Enunwa. You're getting rid of Brian Winters, guys that we kind of expected to kind of move on from. And you feel like you're starting to get more of a Joe Douglas team. You got rid of Jamal Adams, someone who was making a lot of noise. I think you're still going to need players. Like, I wish C.J. Mosley didn't opt out. Like, having him, I think, would have been important for that locker room this year. But
I agree.
I like what Joe Douglas is doing, and I think we are going to add a crap ton of talent. We got, 5 picks in the top 100 picks in next year's draft. It's going to be huge for this roster.
But what do you think about the whole aspect of, a bridge college schedule and everything? How do you think it's going to go as far as scouting talent next year? Because people are saying, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be very, very hard to scout players for next season because you're running off their sophomore and freshman tape, and basically players that come into college, they're not playing a crazy ton their freshman year. There's upperclassmen. They're working their way in. So your second and third seasons, at least for these top guys, that's really important. Now, the interesting thing that for me is going to be, are you going to see these juniors opt to go into the NFL? I think the very top guys, like the receiver from LSU, the quarterbacks like Trevor Lawrence, those guys are going to come out and they're going to get drafted really high. They'll go top 10. But there's going to be players that are maybe fringe second, third round guys that if they play could make their way into the first round. You could see them go into their fourth year and forego going into the NFL draft this season just to get some playing time, unless they think they're going to get drafted high enough and they're okay with accepting a contract that may otherwise be a little lower rather than risking injury playing for their senior season. It's going to be tough. Look, the Jets brought in Phil Savage. Joe Douglas has a strong scouting background. There's a lot of love with Todd McShay being roommates at one point with Joe Douglas when they were in college. I think there's a very strong scouting department with the Jets, and I think that gives us a slight upper hand, but every team is going to be dealing with the same kind of contingencies, and maybe that first round pick we get from the Seahawks, maybe that's not as valuable because of the curveball that it kind of is right now. But I think the Jets are in an interesting position, and I think it's no different than pretty much any other team that's going to have to be picking in that slot anyway. You just might be able to get better players in the second and the third round.
I mean, my wish now is since we got all the older like so picks out, like let's build that core and then let's draft well in key positions from there, and then we could roll that cap space for one or two like good free agents next year. Then we'll be all set. I'm not worried. Everyone's like freaking out. They're like, oh, Seattle's only gonna have a lower pick. It's not gonna net up anything. Blah 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 blah. But you don't know, because San Francisco was 2-14 one year. The next year they're in the Super Bowl. So who knows?
That's just it, the NFL season or the NFL calendar changes so drastically from year to year to year. Teams can go from a top 5 pick to like way better. You look at San Francisco; they were in the Super Bowl. Like totally different from one year to another. Now, I will say this. When you look at Joe Douglas's history and where he's been and players that were taken at the tail end of the first round, I have it up on the screen right now. You got Todd Heap, picked 31. Ed Reed, picked 24. Ben Grubbs, picked 29. Michael Oher, 23. Jimmy Smith, 27. Ray Lewis was taken, I believe, at pick 26. That was before Joe Douglas got there. But he knows Ozzie Newsome, and he knows how valuable these tail end of first-round picks could get. Not to mention, if you wanted to trade back into the start of the second round and it was a team coming up trying to get a quarterback like a Lamar Jackson, like basically any of these guys that want that fifth-year option, it wouldn't shock me to see us trade down into that second round and just kind of accumulate picks to get more darts to throw at this dartboard. I think it would make a lot of sense for the Jets.
Definitely. I was kind of bummed at the draft. That I know we need offensive tackle, but I really wanted Judy, and I've been before the draft I called you and I talked about getting Judy, but I was kind of a bummer. But
Sure. Look, I wanted a tackle in the worst way. The way I operated this offseason was under the assumption that Joe Douglas liked 3 of the 4, and then maybe he liked Lamb or Judy ahead of that 4th lineman. But I'm glad we got Becton. I think it's a smart move. I think we got our left tackle of the future. Dan DePanda, you've been ejected from the cockpit. Thank you so much for calling in.
Call from
John.
John, what's good, brother? How you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm hanging in there. It's been another beautiful day in paradise here in Jets
nice
land.
to hear from you. It's been a while since I've called in.
Oh yeah.
But
what's on your mind?
I'm just thinking. I've been doing a lot of mock drafts for 2021, and have you been seeing any prospects that you're interested in? A lot of them have us going like top 5 or 6. I don't know about that, but like, if we do you see us ending up with a Jamar Chase or taking Penei Sewell or even Sean Wade or Patrick Surtain, any of those guys?
Sua is the edge rusher, or is he the tackle?
Is
it the Oregon guy?
Out of Oregon. Yeah.
He's
a monster.
Yeah, he's wild. Now, I haven't done any research into next year's draft at all. I'll admit that right now. I'm just looking at positions based on what our needs are and that sort of thing. I think the Jets are going to fall somewhere in the 10 to 15 pick. I think that's where we're going to end up. It could be 6 and 10, and we wind up there, because 7 and 9, you look at that, it could have been anywhere from the Jets pick at 11 all the way back to, I believe it was like 16 or 17 with that record. So I would look with our 2 first-round picks, edge rusher, wide receiver, cornerback, offensive lineman. And it's going to depend what happens in free agency, depending on how we kind of do that, what's the power rankings going into the draft, who we think is going to be there. There's a lot of things. But right off the bat, I think edge rusher, cornerback will be the two areas
Yeah.
that I could see us targeting early on.
I agree with that. I think if Gregory Rousseau's on the board, the guy from Miami, I saw some highlight tape of him. He is a game wrecker, true game wrecker.
I gotta start watching tape. I try not to get too into it too early because like I want to have hope for the Jets, and then hopefully we wind up in like the 20s. Oh no, that's fair. I mean, I definitely need to read up a little bit on it. But yeah, I would say positional wise, edge rusher has been something we've been looking for forever. I think a high pick on one of those would make a lot of sense. I don't know if I see offensive line again this year. I could see us. I think targeting Thuney from the Patriots after the season is going to be a pretty big focal point for us.
Yeah, we have a lot of cap. I want to see us getting into something like that as well. Next year, getting rid of Quincy. I'm not sure why we're getting rid of them right now. Do you think there's any reason? Because there's nothing. It's past June 1st already in terms of the pre and post cut deadlines. Do you have any reason? Do you think there's any reason why we're getting rid of a few players right now, or is it just the 83-man or the cuts that we have to make?
Honestly, I'm not too sure. I don't know what the rationale was behind it. I think because he was on the pup list, I don't think he counts towards the active roster anyway. It could just be like, hey, look, we're just gonna move on from you. I don't know. Maybe it creates some cap relief next year. That's possible. Right now, the Jets are set to have $74.5 million in cap, but that's if the cap were to go up to $215 million. So if you got to figure that's 30, was that 25, 35? That's $40 million difference. So we're really going to have $35 million in cap plus the rollover from whatever we have this season. So we're looking at about $60 million in cap space with rollover ballpark.
Yeah, we're going to need that. And then also, I honestly could see us getting into the playoffs with this COVID situation. All it takes is one player from one team getting it, spreading it around, and it could be the Bengals in the playoffs. You know what I mean? With how things work out.
Yeah, this is a total wild card compared to anything we've ever seen before. Not to mention the seventh seed is going to make things a lot more interesting for the Jets, but I think it's going to depend a lot on how this offensive line gels together. If they can gel after the first month, and somehow they come out of the first month being 2-2, then you have a shot maybe. If we go 0-3 or 1-3, I think it's going to be very hard to try and fight back in that schedule, depending on what happens with the Bills and the Patriots.
I could see games getting completely canceled or postponed or indefinitely, because if it's 1 or 2 days out and over 10 to 15 players get tested, I could see games getting postponed like in MLB. And I don't know how that would really work because of Sunday. It's only on Sundays or Thursdays in terms or Mondays. But I don't really know what's going to happen. There's so much.
There's so much confusion. Seeing what's going on with baseball, I don't understand how they could make it work with football.
Yeah,
and that's where I kind of fall on this. Thank you so much for calling in, brother. Guys, if you want your chance to win a hat, shirt, or mug from the Jets Talk store, in the link down below in my description, there's a link to the Jets Discord. Scroll down to the poll section of the Discord and answer this question: what player opted out from the New York Jets? That'll get you entered in to win a raffle at the end of the show. I'm going to raffle that off around 9:55, so make sure you tune in to see if you win a hat, shirt, or mug. What's good, brother? Welcome to the cockpit.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Hello?
Ah, there you go. Can you hear me? What's on your mind, brother?
Hey, I just want to talk about Sam Darnold and how they cut Enunwa.
Sure,
and how
absolutely.
It was a mistake.
Okay,
so
fire away.
What I've been saying recently, since Darnold was a rookie, is that him and Enunwa have some sort of connection. Like, you know how McCown and Jermaine Kearse had like a connection where Kearse played better when, Kearse played better when McCown was quarterback, and Enunwa played better when Darnold was quarterback. Sure. I really just don't understand what the reason was for cutting Enunwa, especially since you have players like Josh Bellamy who are just working their way up, and Enunwa who's already worked his way up, and I think he deserved like a starting spot at receiver rather than a backup position. I don't know why they cut him because another team could use him.
Well, I really like Quincy Enunwa. I have like no bad feelings towards him as a person. He's just always been injury prone. We've never seen a full 16-game season out of him. Really, he started 13 games in 2016, and that was like his best year. That's when we gave him that contract. But then he played in 10 games in 2018. He played in one game, caught one pass, went for -4 yards, and then got hurt. I don't think he's ever going to play football again. I think his career is probably over. That neck injury was really no joke. I think that's ultimately why they cut him. I think they didn't want to drag it on. Hey, if you want to try to catch on somewhere else. But it sounded like he was out for this season anyway. I don't think he was going to play regardless, even if we held on to him.
Also, I wanted to say about Mosley opting out. I went to game 1 of the season, and when I was watching it, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was seeing kickers not scoring field goals in the PAT. Defense was only scoring touchdowns for the Jets. The offense couldn't do anything. Bell's contract looking like it was a big mistake when he was playing. And I just saw C.J. Mosley carrying the defense out there with him and Jamons. After that groin injury that he had, the Jets defense didn't look the same at all. And same with Darnold's injury. After he came back, he led the Jets to get 6 or 7 wins. I forgot how many it was. Also, you look at his highlights from the season before. Every pass was either dropped by the O-line, not O-line, by the receivers, or he was just getting sacked. That needs to change. He could be such a good quarterback, possibly the best coming out of that draft. It's just the O-line we need to step up, and the receivers need to step up.
Ooh, I see Ruben Sheldon is saying my mic is stuttering. I apologize about that. Let me see. I might have to. I'm gonna kick you off, so I apologize. I'm gonna see if I can fix this. Give me just a sec. Let's see. Can you guys hear me? Where's that microphone? All right. Is that better? Let me see. Ruben, thank you for pointing that out to me. If it's still not feeling good, I might have to restart the stream. If that's the case, I'll do that. It's worse. Okay. I'm going to restart, guys. I'll be right back. Make sure you look for the